Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nettie B, but also you can call me Annette. And I just want to get on here and reintroduce myself. I am a average woman who is far from average. And I know that it's been a bit of time since I have released any content on this channel, but that's partially because I needed to figure out what it is that I wanted to say and to make sure that I was ready to say it. And I think 2 years ago, I wasn't ready to say any of the things that I'm going to talk about today, and I feel like I'm in a better place to share some of these things and be vulnerable with you guys. And today I'm really going to share from my heart and from experience. And I want to talk to you all about how to deal with a loss of a loved one. And these are going to be some things that I wish I had done in the past when I was going through these losses, instead of the things that I actually did, which caused me tons of turmoil down the line in my life as a 20-something-year-old and going into my 30s. And, for me, it's important for me to share about loss because, one, I think death and loss is such a taboo topic, and people just really don't know how to speak about death. And I get it, it's tough. It's hard to talk about. What do you say to someone who's lost someone? And I think I've experienced it from both sides: the person who's lost someone and listening to someone who's trying to grapple with the idea of death themselves, and also being a supportive friend and or a loved one, trying to help someone else go through a death or a loss. And I think some of these things you can apply to any loss. It doesn't have to be a death. It could be an end of a relationship, an end of a job, an end of a chapter in your life. But like I said, these are some tips that I've, kind of learned over the years. And I wouldn't call myself an expert because I've, done all this academic studying, but I will call myself an expert because I have personally experienced a lot of loss at a young age, and it's really come with me throughout my life as an adult. And also I think that when I was younger and I was personally going through a lot of the losses, I wish that I had a platform such as YouTube so that I can look to for support and guidance. I think that sometimes when you have peers or other outside influences, you want to look up something in yourself, and you want to be alone with your thoughts and your feelings, and go to a platform such as YouTube to really like I said, look for some guidance and some support and other resources that are out there. And like I said, I've experienced a couple losses in my life. I lost my mom when I believe I was about 6 years old. And then I lost my grandmother when I was 12 years old. And then I lost my dad when I was 17 going on 18, or I just turned 18. And so those were like big losses for me because I had looked to those people for guidance, and they all pretty much brought me into this world today. So, there was a lot of like struggling and figuring out how to do life on my own. And I feel like God has really put it on my heart to really share about loss and death because I have gone through, so much. And I hope that by me sharing some of these tips and things that I've learned over the years, that it can really help someone out there who may be experiencing loss themselves, and just allow them to listen to some of the things that I'm saying so that they don't have to go through, difficulties later in their life. Because trust me, if you don't deal with it head on, it will always be there and it will linger on. And excuse me if I'm looking down because I have my notes in front of me. So I just want to make sure that I am covering all points. And the first thing I want to talk to you all about is allowing yourself to feel. And I think this is important because if you don't allow yourself to feel, you will bottle emotions up. So what I mean by feeling is anything that you're currently experiencing at the moment. So that could be, sorrow, sadness, even anger. Just allow yourself to be in those feelings in that moment, because like I said, if you don't, you will take this with you throughout your life. And for me, I remember when my mom died, and I lived right across the street from my elementary school, so everyone kind of knew who I was because I was, there. My mom always walked me to school, and so there was a lot of shame that came with her death, because I was ashamed that I didn't have a mom and everyone else did, and I didn't really want to talk to anyone else about what I was feeling. And I'm super young, so I didn't even know exactly what I was feeling inside. But when she died, she actually died from a stroke, and she went into a coma, and she never came out, so I never really got to say a proper goodbye. She never got to say any last words to me. I can't even remember the last thing that, we even talked about. And I know when she died, I really missed her. I knew her as my mom. She took care of me, and I saw my grandmother really be the strong woman. She kind of stepped in and kind of took over and started taking care of me. And one thing I will say that she did not do was she did not cry in front of me. And so as a young girl, I picked up the first lesson of, in order to be strong, you cannot show any emotions and you need to be okay. And so I remember being at the funeral and not even crying, because I thought in my head that in order for me to be strong, I had to like suck it up and just be okay. And because I never really showed any emotions or allowed myself to feel, I really carried that attitude throughout my life. And so it's something today that I still struggle with. Like when I'm going through something, my friends can't even tell that I'm going through something. Like sometimes I'm in like some deep, stressful situations, and my face just says I'm okay, and I just get through life because I have to be okay. And I wish I had started to learn to deal with emotions at an earlier age, because now in my 30s, it's something I still struggle with. And the second thing that I want to talk about is allowing people in. And I know sometimes that can be hard, because you feel like people are trying to tell you how to live out your grief, or tell you how to feel, or that they just don't get it, which a lot of the things are all true. But sometimes you have to see that people who are in your life are coming from a loving place, and they just want to be there for you in whatever capacity that means. So that could be someone just to listen to, that can be someone to hold your hand, that can be someone to cry with, or someone to just give you a hug and love on you. And whether that be a loved one or a counselor or a therapist, I would say definitely let someone in, because they can start to help you go through this grieving process and give you tools to help you be more successful in dealing with it. And like I said, this is another thing that I never did. I shut everyone out. I felt like I was alone. And this was another thing that I had to deal with later in life. And so I think that when dealing with loss, it's super important for you to let at least that one person in. And I know for me, once again, when I was dealing with my mom's loss, I had saw a therapist in order to get cleared for school, and because I decided to be okay and pretend like nothing was wrong, I got cleared in my first session, and they let me go back to school without ever seeing the therapist again, which is insane, right? I know. And so I've become a master at just being okay, which is crazy to think about, because a lot of times I'm really not okay and I do need the help. And so I wish I had been more vulnerable with that person. I wish I had decided to say, hey, I am sad. I lost my mom and I don't know how to cope with this. And obviously I'm a young girl, so I don't know how to say that, but I wish, I let people in instead of shutting them out. And then the last thing I want to talk to you all about is, allowing yourself to process the grief, and understanding that grief is a process and loss is a process. And I know there's this famous saying that time heals all wounds. While I think that's true to a certain extent, but for the most part, I think it's baloney, because dealing with a loss of a loved one, sometimes never goes away. And it is a process, it is a journey, and I do think that things get better over time. So when I think about a wound, you think about like this gash and it's opened up. And so after, you know, a couple weeks, it like scabs over and closes up a little bit, and then eventually it turns into this scar. And so whenever you look at that scar, you typically remember how you got it. And I think that's how loss is. You know, over the years, you learn tools to cope and how to show up in life, and you know how to, you know, really work through all of the things that you're feeling and emotions. And I know for me, like, things have gotten a lot better now that I'm in my 30s, but there are still days that I have a hard time with thinking about my grandmother or my mom or my dad. I know specifically for me, holidays can be tough. And so, because I understand that this is a process and that, you know, there are going to be some days that are, you know, a bit more difficult than others, like, I have to figure out what I need in those times. And so sometimes it's a little self-care. So do I need to read a book? Do I need to take myself shopping? Because I love to do that. Or do I need to spend time taking a bath, listen to music? Or during the holidays, like, do I need to spend time with like my friends and their families so that I can still get that love that I'm yearning for and different things like that? And so I think a big thing is just realizing that this isn't something that's just going to go over or go away overnight. It's something that you know, wake up and decide to deal with every single day. And trust me, it does get easier. And I know in the moment where you're going through a loss, it does seem really difficult. And sometimes you don't know how you're going to get through the loss and how you're going to get up every day. But if I can be here today, you can do it. And I just want to give you all hope that, you know, things will get better in due time. And, you know, if I think about the different things that I want you all to take away from this video, is one, that it is really important to allow yourself to feel, I think with anything, don't shut off your emotions, because, you know, they are vital for you to show up every day as a healthy human being. And then the second thing is really that this is a process. And like I said, you know, every day is going to be different. So some days you may be like feeling great, some days not so great. And, you know, just figuring out what it is that your soul needs in those times so that you can be all right. And obviously, I think the last thing is making sure you're talking to someone. I think that while you're going through a loss, sometimes you can't do it on your own, and that's okay. It doesn't make you less strong. It doesn't make you less human. It's just saying like, hey, I need some help. And professionals and people are out there for a reason, for this specific reason. So, you know, don't be ashamed. Don't be prideful. Like, if you need the help, go and get it, because these people are experts and they can really give you some tools to help you to be more successful and help you to, you know, deal with loss. And, you know, one of the last things I want to say to you all is that I see you and I support you. I may not know exactly what you are specifically going through in your situation. However, I do see you, and I know that, you know, sometimes it's hard and it's tough. And I just want to assure you that you are going to get through this time and you are going to see brighter days. Just give it time, take time to heal, take time to process, and figure out what it is that you need in your specific situation to continue to walk through life. And I think the last thing I just want to share with you all is that if any of this things that I said in this video resonated with you, please, you know, like, comment, subscribe. And if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section and I will answer you. And if there's anything you specifically want to see from this channel or from me, let me know, because I'm excited to give you guys more content and allow you to come into my life and see how, you know, I've dealt with a lot of things. And like I said, because I didn't do any of the things that I just suggested, I took a lot of these things with me in my adult life, and things were really hard. And so some of the things that were really hard for me was, you know, relationships, whether that was platonic or romantic. I had to do a lot of self-work, and I'm still doing self-work in order to show up as a healthy human being in these relationships, and allowing my friends in, allowing my boyfriend in, and just, you know, being me and being okay with whatever that is for whatever day. Like some days, like I said, they are harder than the others, but you know, if I'm going through something, like more now, I'm more inclined to allow someone in. And you know, if that work was not done on my own, I had to see a therapist and I had to work with people. And so I think if you want to if you want to get through something, whether that be like, you know, this a loss, or if you want to, you know, get through life, or if you want to get better in fitness, I say what better than reach out to people who have like known success in those areas, because you don't have to figure it out on your own. They're going to give you the roadmap to figure things out. And who wouldn't want a roadmap to make things easier? I know I would at this point, because figuring it out on your own sometimes it's kind of like that saying, like, why work harder when you can just work smarter? But overall, I just want to thank you all for listening to me. And like I said, I hope this video really was helpful, and that, you know, someone who's going through a loss can really take some of these tips and really take them to heart, because trust me, they will show up over and over and over again later in life. And I will see you guys in the next video.